Ahead of time. Update number 1. Clarifications. Dreams. I wish I had a decent mic. I apologize for the sound. That's my first dream. But seriously, this is a salute to my tiny little friend Aaron, who reminded me that during these times we have vivid dreams. We go into this dream state. I have no doubt recently you've been having dreams. Not just any dreams either, but some really high dreams that you sense that you probably won't forget telling kind of dreams. Dreams with messages. Vivid tripping dreams were one of the things I forgot to put in the usuals in the last film. The other thing was some tripping out nightmares. And not necessarily nightmares like you might think, but those too. I'm talking about human nightmares. Cholera. In the past 3 months, since this window is open, Yemen has gone from 100,000 to 300,000 infected. Cholera is generally fatal. You crap your brains out until you die. Look at this guy. He's a father. Here's a daughter. You know, are you a daughter or a father or a son? You're actually seeing a very, very clean facility, considering this is Yemen, and they're being bombed by Saudi Arabia, who we just gave a whole bunch of weapons to. Excuse me, we didn't give them the weapons. We gave them, what was it? We sold it to them for what amounts to almost $1 trillion deal over the next 10 years or so, so that they can bomb their own brothers next door. If it wasn't for us Americans, the Saudi family wouldn't be in the position they are to cause so much harm to their fellow brothers and sisters. It's our fault as much as theirs. And once again, I want to compliment that hospital. You see this mess in the streets? Yeah, that hospital was clean. You got to give it to them. They're working as best as they can with what little they have. The U.S. says it's going to deliver something. Who knows? It says 220,000 there. It's actually up to 300,000 plus. Nightmares in the form of little microscopic bugs that we can't even see. That we're about to do it to ourselves. Cholera is mass contagious, is my understanding. Look at these little kids, little kid dying from cholera. Wild dreams, nightmares, disease. These are just some of the indicators, the predictors, the signs that have come to pass and or are coming to pass as these windows in time are open. Once again, while most are focused on the August 21st eclipse, they don't even think about the lunar eclipse of August 7th, 8th. And that is going to be the first center date. And going back to the suggested window of someone amongst us, that's going 3 full moons back and then a week. And then we're going to move forward rapidly, of course. Let's see what's going on there in that particular window. Here's another blank shot of that particular eclipse, lunar eclipse, August 7th, August 8th. Let's start filling in the blanks going back to about May 2nd. Just a few examples. Japan. What was it? One of their damn maritime ships nailed one of our military ships and killed quite a few of our people. Then there's Myanmar. There went that plane. It was a military plane. Poof. They're finding parts for it already. They have no idea what really brought it down. Bangladesh and Cyclone Mora. How many people got washed out on this one? My sweet Lord. And thanks to Cyclone Mora, Sri Lanka got tore up too. You're talking mudslide, landslide situation. Killed a bunch of people. Destroyed massive property. Yeah, the whole thing in front of us happens in a day, August 7th through 8th in the middle of the night. But it's going to reverberate throughout. So it's not only possible by August 14th that the Arctic Ocean is going to wake up, but maybe the Iceland volcanoes too. Definitely something happening up in that region as a direct result of this particular eclipse. This isn't even the August 21st eclipse. And then we're going to watch the west coast, or the east coast, excuse me, as once again these things reverberate. Throw a pebble in a pond and watch the wrinkles go out. It's the same deal, except these are gravitational wrinkles. And they're going to mess up that whole eastern seaboard. Talking about people being on each other's throat. The Atlantic is going to be a mess this year, people. And then we're already hitting, this is actually more of a, when the whip of the dragon tail first comes in down in South America. And we're seeing that section of South America light up as well. That's kind of the torque that comes in as it first locks in. The eclipse locks in, that is, as it starts heading towards Australia. And yes, we're already seeing civil unrest over there in northern Africa, just as I predicted. And it's been going on a bit now, but it's getting worse. By August 14th, it's coming to a head in some of those nations. And you should see some quake activity there as well. Just like as you can see, this thing is lipping off of Brazil. Well, let's go ahead and look at Venezuela first. Venezuela, and then all of those nations up there going to war. That's all there is to it. You ain't getting out of it. They're all at each other's throats. The whole place is a mess. I don't know who to thank for it. The CIA, the bankers, who knows? Colombia, man. Colombia is on that list. And it's also already getting nailed by pre-quakes, is what I call them, indicators, signs, predictors, whatever you want to call them. It's already getting nailed. That whole continent's getting tore up. As you can see, it's being covered with little lines and arrows and half circles now. And Brazil is a total mess as well. And once again, these are all facing mega quake activity. August 14th, at the latest, a lot of this is going to start getting hit hard. August 14th, civil unrest, big time, maybe into civil war. Yep, right on time. We're already seeing earthquakes and volcanic activity in the Aleutians and throughout Alaska. There's that South American circle again, not only to remind us of the whip of the dragon's tail when it first locks in, but that there's going to be a changing of power somewhere in Africa as well as South America during this time. Once again, August 14th, I would say it, latest September 12th, October 12th, absolute latest. That volcano going off down there in Mexico, that's another big time indicator, predictor, sign. That's very important. Then we had that landslide in San Diego. It's wild. The indicators are really pushing south as opposed to north. It's got me bugged. Especially since it was followed by that building collapse down there in Oakland just shortly right after that. That area got hot. And once again, it's south of the eclipse for the 21st. So this tells me that's also part of the whip of the dragon's tail. That shouldn't be happening, but it is. And then came Seattle. Not just the potholes and the swarm of quakes around May 9th, 10th, but Hanford as well, right over on the other side of the mountains, just like I predicted, and a little early. And it's being pushed by the first eclipse, not the second one. What I just showed was supposed to go into the last film, but as you know, it ran a little long. It was the mega window. It was going out 3 full moons in a week. This one's only going out 1 full moon in a week. We're here. We'll start it off with the Pierce County train derailment in Washington State. I was trying to get the original ahead of time loaded when this actually happened. It was very frustrating indeed, because I knew this stuff was coming, and it's all in that film. Then came another derailment back east, New Jersey. Another Amtrak. I guess it was the third time this year already. Once again, windows in time are lit up like nobody's business right now. Not necessarily in chronological order, but we also saw a collapse of a building in Italy. Major indicator, and that's coming from the first eclipse. For you in the Midwest, I know you have something to say about tornadoes. I've been warning you all. I wrote Brother Tim Halverson in Missouri to warn him. He said he'd be okay, and I believe he would. And I believe this is North Dakota. Here. I asked someone once, would you rather be in earthquake country or tornado country? And they actually told me they'd rather be in the tornado country, because at least they can see it coming. Earthquakes are out of the blue. But these guys are more likely to get hit than us. Way more likely to get hit than we are with the mega quake, I should say. Generally speaking. This year's a little different. For the record, I'm hip to being an adrenaline junkie. I really am. And my hat's off to these guys that go out and do this stuff. You know it's a rush, you know? Here it comes. All that, or you can feel it. It's just fantastic. I can dig it. Remember, if the force can do what it's doing here, it can definitely blow around some blood in you. You know, blow around your bones, blow around the fluids in your body. Tips over looks like an RV there. It can tip over boats. It can do all that stuff. It's definitely shaking you. And shaking your kids. Shaking the kids, the grandkids, the pets. That's why the pets are gone. Remember the shockers in the lesson? That's why they're out of there. Something I'm feeling bad that I'm not catching in here is all the hell that comes down and just wipes out the crops and everything. Thrashes out houses, destroys windows, slaughters cars, the works. Yeah, this filming, it's July 15th. This happened on July 11th. That's how recent it was. The windows in time are open, people. That's how recent this was. And it's going to get worse. That's amazing to me. Look at the size of that mushroom cloud. More devastating than an atom bomb without the radiation. Or, is there radiation? Of course there is. There's all the chems coming off the farms. There's all the chems in the ground that are going away with the floods. There's the hazardous waste sites, the biosites that are seeping in. Their canisters are getting old. They're destroying the environment. In some way, the devastation is very similar to what you saw in Yemen with all that garbage everywhere. When this thing is all said and done, the place literally looks like a war zone by the time it's done. You folks back east, you know. What's wild is the thing's so big it looks like it's actually not moving. But, thanks to Patrick McCarthy and the producers of the YouTubers that put this together, here it is 3 times speed. Check this thing out. Vroom, vroom. And cars are out of there. It's coming at you. And it's huge. This time, the cars are getting out. Don't push your luck. Not me, I'm not the one. Oh, Nelly. North Dakota. Now, here you go. Hail, wind damage, the leader, and I believe that was Iowa. One lady was totally going off about it. She said this is a monthly event all summer long in Iowa. Every summer, every year. So that you have to ask yourself, when are these things going to pop off and when aren't they? Well, this popped off in a window in time. And so did the other ones. So did the other ones. So basically the Midwest is tornadoes and twisters during the summer months, especially this year. Yeah, I first started experimenting with extending the window to one full moon before plus a week, one full moon after plus a week, back in the Acts of Providence, clear back in 2007. So, using that method, I found that I hit way more. Every one of these fell into that extended window in time. I'm not talking about the long window either, 3 months out each way. I'm talking about one full moon back, plus a week, one full moon forward, plus a week. Every one of these hit. And talk about air disasters. Maybe you've heard about this. Air Canada, plane full of people, almost wipes out 4 more 747s or whatever down on the runway. If it wasn't for somebody paying attention, we would have had the record air disaster of all time, or airliner disaster, since it would have been on the ground, taking out everybody. Once again, happening within a very specific window in time. By the way, I would put this as part of both eclipses overlapping, because you have the whip of the dragon's tail as it whipped in, and it pushed everything up from South America over the equator. It's happened before, it happens every time, and it just took a little while to get there. Whereas we're seeing a lot of indicators in the Bay Area, Oakland, etc. As did we lose 16 souls in Mississippi. Semper Fi, guys. Rest in peace. Helicopter, military, aircraft accident, Mississippi. By the way, very close to the dead center of the force. To all you military and aviation investigators, that is literally just down the road from Memphis, in the force of the August 21st eclipse goes damn near right over the top of Memphis. It's sad for me to see this, knowing that you can't say exactly where it's going to happen, but you got this window in time and you have an idea, and we can learn from that and maybe next time avoid this kind of a problem. Like how close Canada Air or Air Canada came over there in Frisco. Whoa, 5 airplanes of people at once. My heart's out to these gentlemen here who put their lives on the line. They paid the price, the ultimate price for their service to us. Thank you, guys. And rest in peace. Yet, here's another indicator, sign, if you will, predictor. The gas line going off in China. I would swear one went off in Kentucky, too. Yeah. Let's give Nemesis the credit for making this little film here. Nemesis channel, Nemesis maturity. But let's give me the credit. I have been predicting such things for decades. Literally. It's in the initial series, the first 3 of them. And definitely in the last one. Definitely in the last one, ahead of time, the main core of it. One of the usuals. To watch a big hunk of ice break off in the Arctic and or the Antarctic. In this case, the thing was the size of Delaware coming out of the Antarctic, which means it's coming off of the first eclipse, and that eclipse being the August 7th, 8th eclipse, which makes perfect sense, actually. And there she's starting to go. One of the biggest icebergs on record has broken free. It just happens in these windows in time. What can I say? I'm very proud that I hit this. And by the way, we're probably not done hitting. I am looking at the Arctic for sure. This is just that torque from the dragon's tail as things are coming in. So there's more to come. How big will they be? Well, in the last film, I showed, or a guy showed, that occasionally they're the size of maybe the corner of Manhattan. Other times they are like this one, the size of a damn state. Just huge hunks of all size. The irony here is in the Acts of Providence, it answers the question of, oh no, what are we going to do because it's flooding, it's going to flood the earth. No, it's not. There is something you can do, like restore the rivers that are all dried up, for example. It's all in the acts of providence, and it eventually turn around to help recool the earth and stop the global warming that is causing the bigger chunks to fall off at this stage. It's a 26,000 year cycle. Not a 20,000 year cycle like these scientists were talking about with the Sahara. Even the Sahara is actually a 26,000 year cycle, thereabouts. Look at the size of that. And it's one of the usuals. I nailed it. Something else I nailed right here. A sinkhole taking up a couple of houses down in Land O'Lakes, Florida. There's this guy that predicts quakes. They call him the Dutch Sensei or something like that. Hello, Dutch. He kind of does it on a method of, on a daily basis. If quake 1 strikes here and quake 3 strikes there, then quake 2 must hit the middle. What I'm looking at here are indicators, and of course my mind's a lot wider open than just thinking about earthquakes. There's so much more to it than just an earthquake. If you're Dutch Sensei, then I'm the native Danish Sea Joe. Yeah, I'm trying to teach you here, guys, and don't be offended. Bottom line is that what I'm looking here is at indicators. The indicator hits here, it hit Mississippi, it hit Land O'Lakes. That tells me, like you, Dutch, somewhere in between is possibly where that big quake is going to take place, or that next series of events. But once again, it's not just a quake, although we are looking for those quakes. Have no doubt, I live up here in the Northwest, I'm looking for those quakes. But in the meantime, these are indicators, signs, that will help us isolate these things a lot better. When one of these things starts coming in, it's all part of the same mechanism, or the same series of events. So, don't ignore them. Watch the film ahead of time. Learn about the usuals. Yes, it's long and drawn out. Learn about the usuals. And then you'll learn that all these things are relevant, as my dad would go on about. And I would say they're irrelevant and they're moot, but they're all relevant. I hate it when Dad's right, but he's right. And he happens to live down there. He's down there in Lutz, Florida. He's really close to this place. I guess that whole Tampa Clearwater Lutz isn't as protected as it normally is from natural disasters this year, which is wild. Pamela Nordstrom's, I'm paying attention to you too. I haven't forgotten about you. You have until September 12th, October 12th at the latest, and I think you guys are going to eat some storms in that area. Big time. Then we come to the spike in violence. Here come the idiots. As always. And they're always idiots either. This one was going down as I was trying to put the ahead of time video up in the first place. The 4-hour and 22-minute long version where I teach you about the usuals and how humans act and why they act the way they act and all that. And yeah, it's just that time. People going off. 25 people shot at a nightclub down there in Arkansas. Once again, also very close to dead center of the force itself for the April 21st eclipse, but also in the vibration zone of how it comes off and how the whip of the dragon tail will pull out from the first eclipse of August 7th, August 8th, that rippling effect. So they kind of cross over each other, or they definitely cross over each other at some point. This is just the beginning of the violence. It's just the beginning. Baltimore? Whoa. Yeah, you guys up there on the East Coast, you're kicking it, aren't you? You know, here I'm worried about the cars driving behind me, and you guys are going violent nuts. Crazy. Just shooting it, shot 25 people. You know, what in the hell is wrong with people nowadays? People that go off and pull this shit, they need to get life without and serious hard work farms. Period. And considering it's the South, and I happen to I happen to know about the Cummins unit, and you're in Arkansas, that's where your ass belongs, in the Cummins unit for life. For the record, the reason why I know about the Cummins unit is my grandpa Marion is from Arkansas. Marion Cummins is what his name is, and he's from Arkansas. Yeah, Cummins unit of Arkansas. Something else, the old Cummins family farm. What is it, 10,000 acres at one point? Yeah, I don't care if it's Arkansas, Miami, Orlando, Washington State, wherever. You go off like this, death is really too good for you. Life without. And whoever shot down this sister, I don't know who did this. Talk about wrong. This is a young woman. You see how clean her teeth were? This woman don't drink. She don't smoke. You see her eyes? She's not stoned. She's out there protecting the community. And some piece of shit that would be calling any other time, oh, my wife and I were fighting, whatever. The wife be calling, so they be calling you. You call the cops for help when you need their help, and you go off and kill them. If someone would have shot that shooter, odds are he would have picked up the phone and said, I need an ambulance. I need some help. Please help me. And he would be coming, the police. And instead, this guy, 34 years old, Alexander Bonds, going to go up there and shoot down this sister. A sister trying to protect his own community from scum like him. Right here in a window in time, just as predicted, they're going off. Sister, to your family, you made it. You went to heaven, girl. You made it. And there's this crazy bitch. Oh, illegal aliens don't kill. Bullshit. This bitch just went off and killed her kids and her husband. And I believe this was in Georgia, where there was also an earthquake. Windows in time. Here come the crackers. And here's another fuck that went off. Talk about a piece of shit going off in a window in time. Him and his little buddy go off and kill 4 other people over some fucking weed. Think about that. Over some weed. And talk about religious. There you go. Yeah, over some weed. What do you think's going to happen to his ass when he gets up in there? He's in the land of Philadelphia. He's in the land of Pennsylvania, of Pittsburgh, of Lewisburg. Have you heard the word about Lewisburg? Man, they're going to make you the biggest bitch on the motherfucking block up there. And rest in peace to you guys. Ain't that something? I was just thinking about it, bro. Keith Norman. He was killed over what amounted to a half ounce or an ounce of weed out on some Weyerhaeuser property when he was only 19 years old. Because of some guy like that. Shot him down over some weed. Keith was a righteous dude. He was from Alaska, and he helped start the Flaky Jakes chain. Most of you don't even know what that is, but they did the Flaky Jakes chain. And then he's 19 and he got shot down over some weed. Once again, happening within a window of time as it's opening. The window's not even open all the way yet. Meanwhile, on a kinder note, Hurricane Eduardo Edward, is about to, it was a Category 3, it's about to slam SoCal after all. So Ernest, you got what you wanted. Take a ride on a hurricane, dude. Mind you, it'll just be a tropical storm by the time it gets there, but enjoy the rain. Now we have Hurricane Fernando heading for the, I think it's Hurricane Fernando, heading for the Mexican coast. How big will it get? Who really knows? I know this. Based on the direction it's moving, southwest, where it's coming from, it's from the whip of the dragon's tail from the April 7th or the August 7th eclipse. Hopefully it'll deliver rain to put out the forest fires throughout the west, like the rains that have been hitting here in northern India for the past month, all within these windows of time. Remember that. And this is from the first eclipse, once again, the August 7th, 8th, that's on its way. Not even here yet. These are volcanoes of the United States and or its protectants, specifically. The ones in the green are monitored, the ones in the white are not monitored. The ones with the eyeballs or the yellow, those are the ones that are active at the moment, if you will. Hello, Hawaii. And Alaska. And this is a world map of volcanoes. The red is to indicate signs of activity. A volcano just went off this morning. I was working on this. A French volcano called La Furnace, or the Furnace, off the coast of Madagascar. And if you've looked at the map of the first eclipse, you know it goes right over Madagascar before it spins out. Yeah, there it is, the Furnace. First few hours of record at the Furnace. That was early this morning when I started working on this, which is now yesterday. And what goes hand in hand with volcanoes? Earthquakes, of course. These are all 4.5 or above. I don't consider it a quake until it's a 6 or above, but that's what we got for right now. And 4.5 or above for the past 7 days, technically 8 days, because I've been working on this since last night. So it's now tomorrow for me. Here's a better shot of those volcanoes that have been going across the Earth, the whole planet, for the past 7 days, technically 8 days. Once again, at 4.5 or above. And this is at 2.5 or above, same 7-day frame. See how much North America lit up when you brought that number down? Because the first eclipse is doing its thing right now. The second eclipse, the one of the 21st, is on its way as well, though. As I taught in the last video, consider it like a magnetic stir from a lab. The closer things get, or the harder the force, the bigger it is, and the further away it is, the less it is. So here's a double map comparison. You can see how it lights up when you go to that 2.5, which is natural. But you can also see a pattern at this point if you know what you're looking for. Southern Hemisphere, eclipse August 7th to 8th. Northern Hemisphere, eclipse August 21st. Now these are eclipses in the past 24 hours, technically now a day ago. The bottom in the red there, interesting, it just happened. That's what that means. The red means it just happened. None of them are at my 6 point, making it to a mega quake as far as I'm concerned as yet. These are all just indicator quakes to me. They're not the big one that we're waiting for. And here's that, bring it down to 2.5, and you saw these clusters pop up here. And that's actually Northern California, Nevada, and Alaska once again. So there's our big window, if you will, the eye of the storm. And that tells me more than ever, California on down is what's going to get hit. Newport, Oregon, Salem, Corvallis, all that in that area. I would watch for something in there. But definitely California this time around. And here is that 4.5 in comparison to the volcanic map. Once again, earthquakes and volcanoes, they're pretty symbiotic with one another. So, once again, it's the whip of the dragon's tail from the August 7th, 8th lunar eclipse that's heading over the southern hemisphere. It's as it's locking in, it's creating a backspin that's totally impacting Chile and all those other South American nations are over there to your right. Up on top, the arrow points around and then it comes out. And it has 3 little points up there. I'll show you on the top now. And that's what's going on. All of this earthquake, volcanic activity is a direct result of that eclipse. The lunar eclipse of August 7th, 8th. Although there's going to be some overlapping with the first eclipse. The second eclipse of August 21st is also, once again, starting to show a bit of force. Things are happening. Oh yeah, already hitting, and once again, here's the whip of the dragon's tail as the eclipse for August 7th comes in. Yeah, just a week ago I posted that picture above without all the arrows pointing it from a picture below. I'm obviously right on track. This is how it works, people. When the eclipse is there, there's a window in time opening up. It's a disruption to the normal force that would be going through there. And that's why I'm able to do this years in advance and hit every time. And we're going to hit in Africa too. The difference in Africa this time is it's a double whammy. This is the force of the dragon's tail as it's whipping out from the August 21st eclipse, but it's also going to get splashed by the August 7th eclipse. So it's like getting a free shot or a fourth strike in baseball. You're going to hit, you can't miss. And see how it goes already? You see the arrows up there. We know South America is getting slaughtered. We know that Africa is popping into civil war. We even know that we're hitting off the coast of Africa already at this point. And although these events are already crossing over, the main crossover date is August 14th for these two. That's as tight as I can get it for you. And this Nuclear Regulatory Commission. What I found interesting, if you look off Florida, you got these three black ones. What they're showing you is that sometimes there's 3 units on a site, 2 units on a site, 1 unit on a site. There are more nuclear plants than I ever imagined in America. I live up here in the Great Northwest, and look at this. These are the crossovers. The yellows are deactivated places or decommissioned places. The reds are active, and that's the circle where they think the worst case scenarios would happen. Not counting wind drift and all this other stuff, right? To make matters worse, unbeknownst to me until this morning, there's actually 13 different kinds of nuclear plants. Oh yeah, and this map I put up before, trying to get the red rings to pop up. It's supposed to be a GIF. It didn't do it. But I counted the nuclear sites. You look at those little triangles for a moment there. Illinois has the most with 10 nuclear sites in there because there's like 3 units here, 2 units there. And South Carolina pretty much is in second at 7. What these folks did is they used the Chernobyl example and they tried to make some circles. Gee, where is this going to head? You know, where's the radiation going to go? We got mass radiation underground. Up here at Hanford, special report, Susan Frame, King 5 TV, she interviewed a guy over there. There are 1 trillion deaths buried underground just waiting to be released. And you see this path going over the top here? Yeah, I didn't actually get it to go. I finally just made 2 different maps on this. You can see it's going to go right through all those nuclear plants. Check it out. That's Illinois. Illinois, 10 plants. Just going under Hanford got Hanford to leak. These are going right over those 10 plants in Illinois. They're going over Kentucky, and they're heading right into Georgia, which has plants, and South Carolina, which has a bunch of plants. All it takes is 1 people, and there's the New Madrid Fault, and you can see it hits down there in SoCal, as well as hits over there in the Midwest, back east. It only takes 1 of them things to start leaking all over the place. 1 major disruption. And it sure as hell doesn't help that Oklahoma's back there doing all that fracking. Starting from the west coast, start watching for little red arrows to pop up. I'm going to be pointing out nuclear plants and facilities. Not all plants and facilities, but those in direct line to be damaged or hit in some way during this time. The burn on me is I didn't catch the New Madrid Fault down in SoCal until after I was pretty much over with this thing. So Hanford just popped up. Catch the arrows. They're going to build up. Now Iowa. Minnesota. The first one was supposed to be Kansas. I'm having to use a magnifying glass to read this as I'm putting it together, so bear with me. Thanks. And dealing with all the damn traffic behind me. It's that time of year. Now it's Iowa. Wisconsin. A few plants up there, at least a couple of sites up there. There's quite a bit more over in Michigan, but I was just running out of space with arrows. As you can see, there's just mass plants down there. And once again, some of them have 3 sites, some have 2 sites at a particular facility. So you're talking a lot of nuclear power, a lot of nuclear waste. And we're talking another arrow, this one out of Missouri. There's this one in Arkansas. Good old Alabama. I have a cousin in Alabama, a couple of them. There's 2 reactors in Alabama, or 2 minimum sites. I guess one of them was actually pointing to Mississippi, because now we're pointing to Georgia, we're pointing to Florida from the looks of things. Multiple reactors in every state. Being the West Coast, boy, I had no idea. Yep, there's North Carolina. That's pointing to Virginia. West Virginia, Kentucky, and Indiana don't have any, but Ohio on up, the rest of the East Coast seems to pretty much be packed with nuclear plants. Maybe Maine doesn't have one either. Now we're pointing to Illinois. Keeping in mind that these are just commercial nuclear power reactors, there's 10 of them there. That doesn't count the research reactors or the other 11, 12 reactor types. It's just this one type of reactor, and there's more there than anywhere else in the US of A, and that force is going directly over the top of it. There's no getting out of it. This is an inevitability. You know, looking at this map, you can't help but see that Alaska is the cleanest place left in the United States of America. Seriously. If you can handle the weather, Alaska. Find a job, Alaska. Or handle living off the land, Alaska. And there go those reactors. Watch this thing just blink off and on for a moment. That's the radioactive area, minimum. Let's not forget Fukushima, Chernobyl, and how these things go floating through the air. Even Hanford has aerial emissions, whether they want to admit it or not. So here's the date, August 14th. That's the center date on the tightest of all the windows. 1 week in each side. That's how I did it when I first started out. The usuals are already in play. Watch for a megaquake, cyclones, the works by the 14th. That's mostly southern hemisphere stuff there, as you can see within the shadow of that thing, all the way over to Africa where you know it goes now, and definitely South America along that Pacific coast of South America. Inside the Atlantic too, and up off of northwestern Africa, or if it looks like, based on the patterns right now, I would say Greece, southern Europe. And then this is if we go out to the next full moon. And I believe that we should go all the way out to September 12th when we're watching for this stuff, when it comes to the August 21st solar eclipse. You want to wait all the way until the full moon and then a week after. And it's going to hit, it's going to go right across all that, with all those nuclear plants, with all that garbage. Think about what our rivers are going to look like, what our ground soil is going to be like. Ground soil. Some of us grow hydroponically, aquaponically, in pots in the air, etc. None. It's what our soil is going to be like. And that's what it does to our food. The food produced on this. Now, if we go out and put a middle point on all this, July 20th will be the date. But I'm not buying into it. That's if we go out 2 moons each way and a week over each way. July 20th is the center date, but October 12th will definitely be a date to watch as well, within a little day or two of each side. By September 12th, we should be seeing the quakes and stuff down in Bahamas, Bermuda, the southern United States. By October 12th, definitely seeing hurricanes if we hadn't seen them by September 12th. Definitely. And definitely civil war in some of those South American and Northwestern African nations, if not half of Africa. Not just civil unrest, civil war. As always, during these times, there will be a change in leadership. Definitely. Especially down in those theaters, some governors, some former heads of state or whatever, like Helmut Kohl. Helmut Kohl just passed away. I had a great respect for that man. Basically, put on your thinking cap, and what can go wrong will go wrong. Catch yourself. Be kind to the kids. They don't know what's going on, but try to direct them, teach them a little bit, you know. Teach yourself a little bit. I can't say it enough. As always, thanks to Google, to NASA. I want to thank the USGS too, as well as the YouTubers. And very, very special thanks to Mr. Fred Espenek of Goddard, and probably on his own nowadays. Fred, you have no idea what. Hopefully you've watched this and now you're starting to know what your work has done to help me make predictions. I thank you very much for it. I hope that you can convince NASA to think outside the box. You and your entire team. Thanks, guys and gals. With that, cheers!